What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk, the fan-created podcast talking all things Rhode Island FC. We are back tonight to chat about Rhode Island FC's 3-0 win in their Eastern Conference semifinal matchup against Louisville City. Each episode of Tide Talk is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you listen there, we'd really appreciate it if you took a second to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. If you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you click the link in the episode description and type in the code Tide Talk, all one word, to get a free pack to add to your collection. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host tonight. I'm joined by everybody's favorite utility Tide Talk player, Andrew Quadros. So everybody, let's cozy up, let's crack a beer, and let's dive into this one. Andrew, just like last week, long time no talk. How are we doing tonight?
Yeah, it's been a while. Doing great, man. I'm still buzzing. Yesterday was just a crazy game, crazy day, and I spent most of this day feeling like, is this a dream? Is this real? Did that actually happen? So still living off of the high of last night.
No, absolutely. And yeah, for those of you who were not able to see the show or not there, Andrew and I did go live from Providence Brewing ahead of time. As we say, always thank you to the folks at Providence Brewing. It's always an absolutely great time there. Andrew, what do you think of the atmosphere there last night?
It was great. Everybody was really into it, making noise. So it's always a fun time being with a group of people that are excited for the match. And they gave us a lot of excitement, a lot of things to cheer about. So it made for a great atmosphere inside the brewery. So thank you to those guys. And as always, great beer, great friends there watching the game. So really had a good time.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, in our live show, we did a lot of the time there was talking about Louisville and talking about this match and really previewing it there. So I know some of our thoughts going into it, but just for everyone to kind of set the playing field here, Louisville, they were utterly dominant all year. They won the Players' Shield by 12 points. They scored 20 more goals than the next best team. They had a plus 43 goal differential, best by 10 in the league. They've only dropped points once at home all year. They've also made it to the conference finals, as you heard over and over last night during the broadcast, every single year that they have been in existence. So to say that this was a game that I think we all felt extremely confident going into would be a little bit of a lie. But at the end of the day, that one the one game that they dropped points all year was the time that Rhode Island FC did beat them 5-2. So we did have that to hang our hat on. But yeah, how are you feeling going into this match?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't supremely confident. I felt really good about the fact that we were going to put up a good fight, that we were going to make it a difficult game for Louisville. I felt good about the fact that Louisville probably was looking at who their potential opponents were, and the one that they circled is do not want to play was probably going to be us. But just knowing that because we had given them two difficult matches already, they probably were not going to, at least in my head, take this game lightly, start slow in the way that they have in many of their other matches. So I really thought it was going to be a dogfight, and just given how much firepower there was, I wasn't really sure how it was going to play out. So I think I told you before, I had a prediction from my head, I had a prediction from my heart. I gave the prediction from my heart, which ended up being right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
My head did not go in that direction. So while I felt like, yeah, we have a legitimate chance in this, I didn't feel great that, in the way that we did with Indy. Like Indy made me a little bit nervous just because I don't think they're as bad as you thought they were specifically. But I still felt like Round should win that game. I didn't think go into last night thinking they should win.
Absolutely. So looking at the lineup here, it is the unchanged lineup. It is the team, which I think we're going to see basically moving forward. But Koke Vegas captained the team in net. We had the back three of Stoneman, Yao, and Duggan in the back. We had Quizera and Nodarcy on the wings, with the adult midfield of Marky Barra, Zachary Harabau, and Clay Holstad in there. And then up top, we had Noah Fuson as kind of that creative role with JJ Williams, who we will talk about again on this podcast at length. But yeah, it was the unchanged. Anything that kind of stuck out to you here, Andrew?
No, I mean, I think we predicted this had to be the same lineup. We've been rolling with this lineup now for a few straight matches. They're playing at an unbelievable level. It had to be the same starting 11. The question marks that we really had were, what were the substitutions going to look like, particularly with Turnbull out? But the starting 11, I think, makes a ton of sense.
Absolutely. So it didn't take long for this one to kick off. I think Rhode Island FC clearly came into this match with a lot of confidence, and they didn't look like they were intimidated or in awe of the moment. There was a great YouTube comment on the USL's cut up of this game, which I absolutely loved and I wanted to share here. So this person said, "I work at the hotel where all the visiting USL teams stay while in Louisville. I was in the room while coach was going over strategies and giving his pregame speech. Of all the teams that I've heard speak, this RI team was the only team that didn't seem nervous. North Carolina last week was pretty much preparing for the offseason, and Phoenix the week before was talking as if they had already lost. These guys were stone-faced, mad, and you could tell they had something to prove." I have absolutely no way to verify this, but I love this story so much. I'm definitely sticking to it. But, while I think we're a little nervous heading into it, it seems like the team wasn't from from boots on the ground here.
Yeah, and you love that about this team, right? I mean, the fact that they and this hasn't been a case of something that's developed late in the year. It feels like the entire season. Part of the reason we always thought that they were better than the results had been showing is because they showed up and performed against the big teams. I mean, if you look at the top seeds in both conferences, they drew a lot of them. They got a couple wins in there, but generally speaking, they played really well against those teams. So I think that this is a mentality that they probably had throughout most of the year. I said now they have the results to back it. So now there's a different level of confidence that they're going to bring along with that mentality of just, no one's going to bully us. We're going to take this. So I love to see it. And it obviously, like you said, no way to verify it. But this was like a neutral. This wasn't some Rhode Island fan or someone with some sort of Rhode Island connection. Mm-hmm. But you can see it. I think you can see the confidence on this team. So I'm choosing to believe it because I think it's legit.
Yeah, it's a great story. I'm sticking to it. But like I mentioned, it didn't take long for us to start here. So we are going to play JJ's first in the 9th minute here.
You're hot, just press the button, hope it works out. Giving them away here from Dion. It's Williams barreling through. Williams scores! Continues to torment Louisville. His 4th career goal against Lou City in 10 meetings.
And it's really defined by the patience.
So again, this very similar to last week. It just is JJ Williams is playing like a man possessed. He's playing like someone who single-handedly, if he has to, wants to drag us to through this playoff run right now.
Yeah, we were chatting a bit on the way out yesterday after the game, and I had made a comment of as well as this team is playing, and they deserve everything that they've gotten so far. I don't know that they'd be this high if it weren't for JJ. I think he is just performing on a different level. And if he wasn't finishing the way that he was finishing, I don't know that we'd be sitting here in the Eastern Conference Finals. He is playing on a level that I haven't seen. He's got that dog in him. He wants the ball. I mean, how many times have you seen him this year just take the ball and slalom past people? Like, that's not – I didn't know he had that in his game to just, sprint past people and then with the nice touch to send it up over the keeper. So he's on a different level.
No, I mean, my immediate reaction I tweeted out was just JJ Williams, what the fuck? Because this is the run he's on right now is absolutely insane. There was one of the other games earlier. Someone was like, JJ Williams finishes a chance that I think one of the Tampa players had. I was like, JJ Williams finishes anything right now.
Yeah. He
is absolutely on fire. Right foot, left foot, dink, head, doesn't matter. He's putting it away. And all year, Matt and I talked so much throughout all these episodes. At the beginning of the year, it was, well, once JJ Williams get back, it might help our offense kind of get back into form. And then when we hit some lulls, it was like, oh, JJ's been kind of hurt. Once he's back, once he's feeling better, we might be a different team. And I think, while we were hoping all year, we actually are seeing that play out right now because he is playing like the best player in the league right now, quite frankly. And I don't think if he plays like this the rest of the way, we already were going to be a tough out, but I don't really know how you can stop us there.
Yep, I agree. I mean, if you look at the course of the season when he came in, in May, more or less, started to build up the match fitness, was fighting injuries. Like, at what point in the season can you say with certainty, yeah, it seems like he's at 100%? I don't know that happened really until the very end of the year. And now look at him.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to the video clip here because I think my favorite part was when they flashed to the stand. You see JJ Williams. You see JJ and everyone go right over, and then you see Tide Talk's finest, Kevin and Matt Hands in the picture, which I absolutely loved. We can start here. I mean, we were going to save this for the end, but I mean, we have to give the biggest massive shout out to La Banda, the Defiance, and everybody who made the 15+ hour road trip down. We were getting some behind the scenes play-by-play from Matt and Kevin on their little road trip. We had people sharing their stories and people packed into vans, but it was funny. There was one point, I think, Andrew, you might have said it. You're like, oh, it's really funny. They play the same drum pattern as us. I was like, no, that is us. We were loud. We were proud. I genuinely can't believe Louisville let us bring the drums in, but it was an absolute show of force by the Defiance, by the supporters, and couldn't be more proud to be a Rhode Island FC fan last night.
Absolutely tremendous. I mean, they showed them all game long, and it was it was great to see. Every time they showed a new shot of them, there was probably a couple, fewer shirts that were on. So the crowd got rowdier as it went on, and the result was certainly a part of that. But they brought it. They brought the noise. They brought the energy, and it was really fun to watch along. Seeing as they were kicking off the road trip, updates while on the road trip, seeing them in the tailgating, seeing Brett Johnson speak to them ahead of the game, seeing the post match videos with Koke and others just going up and talking to them, and it was great support, and I think that the team was really feeling the love. They felt it all year long.
Yep.
But having that kind of showing and a 15-hour drive to get over there was great. And some of the guys are still getting back, right? Matt Hands and Kevin are listening from a car right now, still not scheduled to get back home in another few hours. So props to them because they left Friday night and they haven't stopped moving since then.
No, and yeah, the energy they brought after such a grueling journey, just incredible stuff. I heard it was fueled by Red Bull and McDoubles, so you can't go wrong there. Yeah. So as we look at the rest of the first half, so basically Rhode Island FC, I think, you obviously get the early goal. Louisville went down 1-0 last week to North Carolina, and you expect a response from them. I don't want to say that they seem to take the game a bit lightly to start, but obviously you go down a goal, that's going to light a fire under your ass a bit. So I was really worried about kind of Louisville really coming back. It's almost like a did we score too early situation. And we saw a little bit. One thing I was getting worried about, which we'll see in these clips I have here, is it seemed like we kept falling near-ish our 18, which I was getting nervous about. But luckily, Koke was there to have our back.
Sean Tosh, always so dangerous, coming up off the back line on these. Obviously, Wilson Harris, a 19-goal scorer. Plenty of options here. It's a driven in-swinger. Glanced out and saved by Vegas. Still loose in front. Tosh looking for it, and it's over the bar. It's here. It is Davila through the wall. Saved by Vegas right between Adams and Tosh.
Yeah, so Koke, I think, had a bit of a underrated game last night. He had a couple big saves. I think he kind of carried us through those moments where it felt like Louisville were just corner kick, or free kick there. So can you speak a bit to basically from the goal through mostly the end of the first half there, how you felt about it?
Yeah, I didn't feel a heck of a lot differently, given the fact that we know that Louisville just has so much firepower. Like I didn't feel comfortable going into it. I think I was more impressed about how the team was performing and seeing how well they were able to possess the ball. It just felt like everything that they were doing, they was just at a different level of confidence. And early on in the year, they weren't the direct style team that they are now. They were almost more like that tiki-taka style early in the year where they just wanted to pass their way into the net. And it just felt like they couldn't really string enough passes together that someone always screwed it up. A bad touch, a pass that goes nowhere. It always felt, I wouldn't even want to say disconnected because it was more than that. They just weren't sharp on the ball. And last night was probably the most sharp I've ever seen them, at least in the first half, in terms of the way they were possessing it, just keeping the ball away from Louisville. So I felt really good about how they were playing. But Louisville being Louisville, they went down last week, right, to North Carolina. So you knew that they had the ability to just come back at any point. And it didn't feel like Louisville was really frantic at that point. I mean, even thinking back to the 5-2 match when we played them earlier in the year, it just felt like once they fell behind, they just started throwing waves of pressure at us. And you could tell that they were really chasing it. And it didn't feel like they really kicked it into that gear. And it's not that I don't think that they didn't take it seriously enough, but I just felt like they thought, we got this, we'll come back. We've been coming back all year. And it just never really bore out throughout the rest of the game. So I felt comfortable in the first half in the sense that they were in it. I think that Rhode Island was absolutely the better team in the first half, but I still knew that anything was open to happen in the second half.
Absolutely. And before the second half kicked off, Rhode Island FC did have one final chance to make it 2-0 before halftime, which would have been massive moment here, but we'll play that now.
That far post delivery, the consistency and the pace. Makes that set piece so dangerous.
Williams sneaks it through. Fuson cutting. Fuson blocked away by.
Yeah, so again, it's like JJ's force of will to get that ball and move it up the pitch after he gets it. And then Noah had a really interesting game. I think overall he was good, but obviously he had two key moments that could have been super helpful for the team.
Yeah, Noah was Noah throughout most of the game, but the two key chances that he had to put one away, he didn't do it. And we'll get to the one, at the end of the game there. But for that one, we were talking about it live. It felt like he either took one too many touches because it ended up pulling him at a weird angle, or one too few touches because he got the defender down to the ground, but then just shot it anyway when that angle was already cut off. So it was just a little bit out of sync there. That would have been unreal. I mean, that was 15 seconds left to go in the first half. To know that we could have been up 2-0 deservedly was a little bit of a blow there, but still riding high on what that first half brought. But yeah, that was a tough one for Noah.
Absolutely. So as we look at the first half and look at the stats here, like you said, I think it was an even half, but Rhode Island FC, I think, were the better team, and they were absolutely worthy of their win here. Not win, their dominance at the half, or the 1-0 scoreline. So 50-50 on possession, 6 shots for Louisville to our 5. They had 2 shots on target. We had 1. We had one big chance that we buried. They didn't have any. Passing accuracy, 78% for both teams. Again, dead even, 145 for Louisville, 146 for us. We actually edged them on corners 4-3. So yeah, at the end here, it really seemed as though like it wasn't some fluke that Rhode Island FC were up at halftime. They did deserve it. Yeah,
I mean, the possession's an interesting one for me too, because I think for most of the year, especially when they were playing well, we felt that this team did better when they were behind on possession, where they were able to kind of hit on counters or on quick transitions. And then every time we faced a team that had a similar type of story, it was always interesting of like who's going to be the one to relinquish the ball. But when you look at the matches they played against Louisville this year, they won the possession battle in the first match that was 0-0, and I would argue they outplayed Louisville in that match. And the second one, it was very skewed to Louisville, but that was because of the second half and just how much pressure Louisville was putting on the ball. But when the game was still in contention, it wasn't Louisville just dominating the ball and us sitting back. And then you see it here. I mean, that the final stats will show that they had a little bit more of the ball, but it was relatively even. And in this first half, when Rhode Island was winning the game pretty decisively in terms of the momentum of the match and everything, it was 50-50. So they were toe-to-toe with this team. This wasn't a case of them just sitting back and picking their moments against a better squad. They went into it thinking, we're better than you, we're going to beat you.
Absolutely. So after halftime, Louisville did make a host of subs, mainly bringing on their second striker, who was their second highest goal scorer of the year. So they obviously were making changes to try to go for it, which did put Rhode Island FC under a bit of pressure to start. So we have 2 key moments here in the 52nd and the 59th minute to show.
Out wide from Elijah Winder, and it's that ability for these central players for Lou City to find themselves in those wide channels. But it's almost like he had to pull it back to Ray Serrano.
Yeah, so a huge block from Grant Snowman there. And I think it just really kind of embodies like what this team was going to do last night to bring this victory home. Obviously, JJ is getting a lot of the talking points and how he is willing us ahead. But I think the defense has also just been throwing themselves on the line. And like I said, we did have one other clip here that kind of really shows that.
You haven't created that chance that you've wanted.
Here's Goodrum. Serrano. Darce heads it centrally. Yao gets rid of it. Brought down from Morris. Jake Morris saved by.
I mean,
you haven't created that chance.
On that shot at the end, you see, I think at least 3, if not 4 players throwing their body to try to block it. You see Clay run from the midfield line to get all the way back to disrupt that play. He did that on multiple occasions last night. So there was full commitment from this team to see this one out, and they were going to do everything in their power not to let Louisville score.
Yeah, I was hoping that you would have that still shot, and you kind of did it through the replay. The start of the replay, the second one. How far back Clay was?
Yes.
He ran a mile to get back there and to knock that ball away. So
yeah, there's a crazier one. I couldn't find the video of it, but he hit like a kind of a bad like cross field like long ball, and it gets intercepted, and he jets from like 3/4 of the way up the field all the way back to get in the box to block a shot. And again, I think it's number one who Clay has been all year, but again, the identity of this team to say we are not letting you through. This is not going to be an easy game for you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And he has the speed to be able to do those things, but the defensive line,
Allegedly fastest guy on the team.
Exactly. But the defensive line, just in terms of the way they play, they cut out every one of those chances. So Stoneman in that first clip has done it there, but the team has been doing that all year round. In that first game against Louisville, it was Nadarce that was just blocking everything. And you look at the statistics, and there's just a ton of block shots, and they really don't have Louisville many great chances. And that it was kind of the same thing with Indy last week. Even though they scored those 2 goals, they didn't really have a ton of great chances. That the chances that forced Koke into good saves were just really well taken balls, like Romari Williams on a side volley when the defender was between him and the post. So those types of plays, you're not going to score on those very often. And it's a testament to the commitment that the team has in defending and to not allowing anything to be easy. And it's full team too. We see the most of that from the defenders and from guys like Ibarra and Clay because of the positions that they play. But there were a number of times that you saw even JJ coming back, helping out with on defense, helping to clear the ball out, spring attacks, starting all the way from the back. So full team commitment, and that, again, just speaks to who this team has been for a while now, and it just feels like it's an overdrive here in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And obviously, we love all the defensive work the team was doing, but we needed that second goal to go in. And luckily, the man himself, J.J. Williams, was there to deliver.
And making it 5 goals in this.
Yeah, so obviously just incredible from JJ to roof that. I don't know why that video shows so short, but number one, pretty horrific mistake from I think their left back to just kind of cross it to JJ. I appreciated it, but I think again, it's one of those things where Louisville just didn't look sharp. They didn't look themselves last night. And the other side of this, though, is JJ was absolutely clinical in bearing that. He takes both defenders on and comes away as the only man on his feet and burying one in the back of the net.
I didn't know he had that in his game. Like we know he scored in the header last week. We know he could win the aerial duels. He hasn't done it a ton this year, but we know he had it in him. His right foot, his cheeky finishes, his strong finishes, we've seen that. I didn't know that A, he had a left foot that could do that, and B, he had the ability to just like shake and bake a guy off to be able to get that space to be able to get the shot off. So good positioning, terrible ball by the Louisville defender. There's no defending that. Good positioning on his part, but then the chesting the ball down was perfect, set him up perfectly. Then he made the perfect series of moves to create that space, open up the left foot, and then blast it. I did not know he could do that.
No, I mean, quite frankly, if I'm those defenders, like they had a tough night, and Coach Almeida really brings up a great point here. The strikers and midfield had a field day with Louisville yesterday. Throughout the midfield, the ball was moving crisply, and their CDM left back and right back looked lost. And again, for a team that was so accomplished, and I think in the pregame preview we did, I think one of the players to watch I had was their center back, Sean Tosh. And I think Sean Tosh is going to have nightmares about JJ Williams tonight and for the foreseeable future, because JJ won that battle by a landslide.
Yeah, and JJ was a monster back there in the box. It really gave him a lot of trouble. But to Coach Amina's point there, it was also a case of how well they were moving the ball. And I talked earlier about their inability to do that in a really effective way earlier in the year. And it seemed like they have it down now where they are moving the ball really crisply. But also earlier in the year, even when they did move the ball effectively, it was still very predictable. So what we found through the first half of the year is that they would just like pass their way into the edges of the field and then not really know what to do with it and then just send the cross in. And I think it was just because they were a little bit too slow and predictable in making those. But the movements are so much more dynamic now. And that's what's happened when this team has worked together throughout the whole course of the year. But they're very quickly changing the ball, 1-2 touch, move, they're overlapping runs, there's underneath runs, they're set, Noah's going out wide, JJ can go out wide, he can go in the box. So there's just so much more dynamicism in the way that they're building up the play. And as a result of that, I think it just makes it really difficult to defend because you don't really know where they're going to go. They just have too many options.
Absolutely. And I think one thing the team did really, really well last night, or one of many things. Number one, I thought it almost felt like we were playing with an extra man a lot of the time. We were doing such a good job of like hunting in packs and using overloads to create that extra person that was available for passing and to keep it crisp. There's so many times where there's just so much space like between the Louisville players. And I think we did a great job explaining that. And then I thought our press created a lot of trouble for them. I don't know if they weren't expecting that, but all night I felt like we were just really, really crisp at kind of controlling Louisville through our press, so that they didn't have kind of any easy routes through our midfield and into like kind of the back line there.
Yeah, they didn't have answers for it, but this wasn't. I don't think we played too differently than we played them the first time around in terms of that style defensively and playing that press and cutting out those angles and packing it in and then breaking out quickly. So I don't think we threw anything differently at them, but they still didn't really have any answers for it.
Absolutely. And speaking of not having answers, so obviously at the end, we then see a final goal here. So just to, circle back here. So we get the third goal, and then we basically get all the fresh legs on. And so we already had brought on Messi for Duggan. Duggan looked like he went down, a little bit of an injury. And then we bring on Doyle, Amos, and Mr. Energy himself, Joe Brito, for Zachary Harabout, JJ Williams, and Quizera. So I think this was a kind of one of those things of like, let's get the fresh legs on. Let's have people run at Louisville and not let them get away from it. Chico also was on for No Darce. No Darce was on a yellow. I think it was a sensible sub there. But with Chico now entering the match, as I've said, we can look at here. So we are going to play everything that led up to the goal. So this might take a little bit.
Win in this stadium. Between regular season and postseason, Louisville were 17-1 here this year. Could be 17-2. Doyle looking for Dequa. Albert Dequa goes down. Penalty. Rhode Island can put it to bed.
So just a pause there. I thought their keeper had an absolute nightmare of a game. Like an absolute nightmare. His face right there on the still shot, I think, says it all. Like he just wasn't there. And then, someone who, I have not always said the nicest things about, but Mark Doyle, like, what a press, what a run. That's all the energy that we talked about that he brings off the bench. But what a phenomenal pass to Chico to spring him on that left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, I've never doubted Mark Doyle. He's been one of my favorite players all year round. Honestly,
some screenshots if you want to.
Yes. When he was subbing in, I was like, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, wait, you're putting in Mark Doyle in this match right now? Like, you're doing this right now? But credit to him. That was a fucking amazing play. Yes. He had a long way to go to try to even just get that to be a 50-50 ball. He poked that ball loose. It seemed like the Louisville player was like stunned that he even got to it. And then his hustle and quickness to get up the wing, and then he sent a beautiful ball across. Props to Mark. I think he really was the engine behind that whole play. And then I agree, the keeper, I don't know what he was doing there. That was such a dumb play. Like that's just, I guess, being frantic and just really being really stressed at the fact that you're in the first minute of extra time. But I don't know what he was looking to accomplish there. So he was just having a rough night.
Absolutely. So moving forward here, we will go through with the penalty sequence.
Right here, right now. 5 minutes to go, down 2 goals. Get a third, forget about it. Noah Fuson, saved by Russ. Rebound, put in. Rhode Island will play for the conference title.
So a couple things here. So number one, I know we were together, so I know a bit of your thoughts already. But when Chico goes down for the penalty, who did you think was going to take it? Obviously, with the caveat that JJ Williams was not on the pitch.
I thought it would be Chico.
Sam.
Yeah, Sam, I definitely didn't think it was going to be no.
Yeah. So to the penalty, obviously now we've seen Noah miss 2 penalties. They were saved actually really similarly the 2 weeks. One was at Charleston and then one last night. We all know I bought my Noah stocks early. I am a huge Noah guy. I think I am also team. Maybe he shouldn't be our penalty taker at this point. They just haven't looked confident. They haven't. They looked very, very savable. And I do think moving forward, I don't know, especially in these tighter moments, if he is our guy kind of moving forward.
He can't. It's even if he's capable, even if he's got the skill, And even if next year, like he could be our best penalty kick taker next year, but this year it's in his head. He can't. Like he's missed 2. There were 2 lollipops that he kicked. Like he needs to. I was hoping that when he was stepping up to it, that he was just going to take the opportunity to blast it and just see what happens. But to try to place it, it wasn't going to work. And at this point, his confidence has to be a bit shook from penalties. So he cannot take penalties. As much as I love him, I still think as great as JJ has been, that Noah's still the key to this team if they are to continue to make a run here, but not for taking penalties. It can't be him.
Yeah, and I think Ace has an interesting point here where he says, I think Coach Kano was hoping for Fusan to score and get his confidence back in case they need him for a shootout. So definitely not a bad shout. Also, Noah, I mean, he went on an unbelievable hot streak. He hasn't scored a ton in the playoffs, so maybe you wanted him to get one there. But, you know, luckily it didn't matter because Chico does have a pretty incredible finish there to make it 3-0. Again, back to that goalkeeper. I don't think that was an incredible shot by any means. Maybe he was blocked off, but that's right to his right-hand side, and it just kind of sneaks right past him. It was a really weird goal to go in.
Yeah, it was in traffic, so maybe he didn't really get a good read on where that ball was headed, but you have to assume that ball's going to get immediately sent back in. So, I mean, it was placed perfectly for what he had available to him. But yeah, I think the keeper could have done a little bit more. I think looking back at the goal today, just back on the Noah thing, when after that goal is scored, if you just take a look, everyone's excited, and Noah just like has his head down. He was so like he wasn't even excited for the goal. He was so defeated by it too, which was like a bit sad at that moment in time when we're all going crazy because they just took a 3-0 lead.
No, I mean, hey, listen, it's always going to be tough if you do miss that play, but hopefully he can shake it off again like he has done. I mean, you know, with the Charleston penalty miss, it didn't seem like it affected him in the games afterwards. So hopefully, again, it doesn't shake his confidence. If he goes up take again, I think he definitely can and will make them at some point. So, and luckily for Noah, his penalty wasn't the worst on the night because in the 96th minute, they did have a penalty shout to bring one back here and to break kind of the shutout here.
They both met the same result in 2024.
Yeah, and just here, this is actually pretty long. I clipped this for a reason. I don't remember why, but I will remember while it plays. But this is a little longer, so just a heads up.
Anything now would just be a cherry on top for Rhode Island. It's Dequa. Albert Dequa going for goal saved by Laz.
I remember why. So I thought that was insane by Chico.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought that was absolutely insane by Chico. My man, go to the corner flag. It is 3-0. The conference finals are a minute away. Go to the corner flag.
Yeah, all that
stand there with the ball.
It wouldn't have been difficult for him to go to the corner too. They were giving it to him. He could have taken that.
I couldn't believe it when he shot that. Yeah, so sorry, that is why this clip is a little longer. So Louisville now gets possession, and this will roll into their clip.
Final minute. For Louisville, where do you go from here? It's the best roster in the league. Historic season. Got to pick up the pieces somehow. Philip Goodrum, he's taken down.
Yeah, so I guess to start there, any complaints on the call for the penalty there?
No, it was the right call. My complaint was, why did y'all do that? Like, it was unnecessary. But
I didn't understand why he was so much further up than the back line. Like the other two center backs were way deeper, and he was just up the field for some reason, so that the attacker had plenty of space to kind of both be on sides and be behind Yao. So it was just kind of a weird, 96-minute hard-fought game, kind of brain lapse. But I thought it was a strange play all around, obviously, from the team, especially with how locked in they were all game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, last minute, so maybe that had something to do with it. But it was a tremendous ball by Louisville. It was just perfectly fed in there. Maybe he was just booting it up and it landed in the right spot, but it did find that space right behind Chico, and then he was just caught in no man's land.
Absolutely. So now the penalty here.
And there is a point to the spot from Elton Garcia. Tosh saved. Nothing going Louisville's way tonight.
Quite frankly, that has to be one of the worst penalties you'll ever see. That
was awful. And I know that at the time we were looking at that and saying, like, why is their defender taking it? Apparently he's their guy. And that's the first time that he's failed to convert a penalty in his career.
Ooh.
And you
Stats.
see the penalty that he shot, and that looks like that looks like any defender who is trying to shoot it that isn't just trying to blast it with all of their might. He didn't look like he was someone that is good at taking penalty kicks. I don't know what that was, but it was very poorly taken.
Yeah, it was wild. I think honestly, quite frankly, I think it was pretty emblematic of Louisville on the night. Like it was very kind of weak, almost like pretentious of like, I'm just gonna pass this into the corner, and like Koke is just all over it. Like he almost dove too early. It was like such a weak shot. So again, I think it was very emblematic. I mean, Tosh was probably absolutely worn out at that point. Like he went to battle with JJ the entire night, and like I said, I think he was second best throughout. He has been one of Louisville's better players for a while now, and yeah, I think again, very, very emblematic of everything that we've seen from them.
Yeah, definitely. And then right before, literally seconds before that penalty was taken, you looked at me and said, Louisville hasn't been shut out at home all year long. And then like seconds later, the penalty was called.
That was on me.
Yeah, but hey, it held true. So again, testament to just the force that Rhode Island is going into that stadium and how good Louisville has been too. I mean, I think they've only had 1 or 2 games where they didn't score at least 2 goals in their own stadium. So to not have been shut out, but then to be shut out last night was just tremendous. And it was not a fluke. Like that was
Nope.
Not in the least.
No, and just actually to double down on that point, I think I saw earlier, it actually wasn't just all year. I think it was back into 2023 as well. They haven't been shut out at home. So a really like monumental effort, a monumental victory, and a very deserved victory, quite frankly, for Rhode Island FC to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals here. Just to show the final stats. The final stats here. So to end the game again, even though Louisville was behind almost the entire game here, only 54% possession to Rhode Island FC's 46. They only had 3 more shots than us. We had one more shot on target than them. We had 3 big chances to their 1. They missed their big chance. We missed 1 big chance. I think both of those are penalties. Passing accuracy was pretty similar for both. Corners were 9-7 in favor of Louisville. So again, for a team that was chasing, they just didn't do enough to get themselves back in the game. And I think Rhode Island, and a lot of that is due to Rhode Island FC.
Yeah, they just went toe to toe with them. And you look at if someone were to show you the stat sheet at the end of a match and say who won, I don't think you'd feel strongly that Louisville should have been better. You would say, well, if you look at the shots on target, you look at the big chances, you would assume that Rhode Island had won. Possession was relatively even. And just the flow of this game, I think it probably undersells just how well Rhode Island played, because they just took it to them. In the second half, obviously protecting the lead, things started to get a little bit tighter before that second goal. It did feel like Louisville started to exert themselves a little bit more, but they still never really had many great opportunities. Like we just did a good job of snuffing it out and then creating good counterattack opportunities there. So it was well deserved by this Rhode Island team, and I think this Louisville team is going to be seeing Rhode Island in their nightmares for a good year. So we'll see what next year brings for them. But for now, I think it was just very sweet to know that the boogeyman for the entire league just got taken out by us, and we are now their boogeyman.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, before we kick it over to the socials to get people's reaction, any kind of final thoughts here?
Final thoughts, I guess just what does next week bring in terms of who is available? So I think we're assuming that Turnbull is still not going to be available. I don't really know what's happening with Dugan. I mean, when he went down, I thought it was just some gamesmanship and trying to kill time, but they very quickly called for a sub. So he didn't really end up killing all that much time. It did look like a cramp, but I don't know if he's going to be available. We still don't really know what's going on with Quizera. I've been steadfastly saying he's not going to go on international duty, but that is purely just me willing it into existence more than any facts or anything that I've heard otherwise. I think most people seem convinced that he won't be around, and losing Turnbull takes away a lot of that versatility. Losing Quizera takes out a tremendous amount of that flexibility, and then who knows what happens with Dugan. So it's like we're really on short supply for our defenders and our wingbacks. So feeling really great about this week, and I think what sucks about how this league operates is that we're not going to find out much. Like we won't really know probably until Saturday what's going on and who's going to be available in that Charleston match. So it's going to be tough to kind of predict what that lineup is going to be and who's going to be available and how, we have another potent attack coming, right? The highest score in the league. So it's going to be a difficult task for us, and not knowing who's available because of these injuries is difficult. And it's just been a battle of attrition. I think for these first 2 games, and you can see just how much heart and soul the team has been pouring into it. and that's manifesting in these injuries and these tough crunching tackles and muscle type things. So it's, we'll see who is available, and that's my biggest concern going into next week. Because I think that at this point we've taken out the toughest team left. We have the second toughest team ahead. I have full confidence that we can beat them, but it really comes down to who's going to be available for us.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar lineup to when we played Charleston away at the end of the season, where we had Duggan as a wing back and then Frank back there as well, because then you can double up on Markanich on that left-hand side. But we'll definitely get more into that one. But just some final thoughts. So, Leo, thank you for clarifying. So, yes, this is the first game Lewis City hasn't scored at home since July of 2023 against Pittsburgh. So, year and a half there, which is absolutely nuts. And again, just to remind everybody what we talked about at the beginning, Lou City won the Players' Shield by 12 points, scored 20 more goals than the next best team, plus 43 goal differential. They only dropped points once at home before this. They've made the conference final every single year they've been in the league. This is a massive, massive win for RIFC. And quite frankly, for those of you who have talked to me, I have said this more offline than online, but I always was a little concerned because I felt the Louisville game, the 5-2 when we beat them, was a little bit more lucky than not. We got absolutely battered in that one. I think Louisville had 6 or 7 big chances that they missed almost all of them. So it was a game where we were hyper efficient and they couldn't find the side of a barn. So I was a little worried going into it. This was an absolute thorough victory from start to back, from front to back, from start to finish. I couldn't be more proud of the effort. And again, it just shows how much this team has grown this year.
Yeah, I agree all around. 2 more really quick thoughts before we go to socials. Just to add a little bit of context, when you say that they've made it to the East Conference Final and every year in their existence, given how short some of these life cycles have been with USL, it's 9 seasons, 9 years in a row. They have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And something else that I had mentioned to you on the way out, for those of you in the Boston area and listen to any Boston Sports Talk Radio, Mike Felger had said years ago, and I can't remember who was in reference to, if it was the Bruins or the Patriots, he was saying that once you make it to the Final Four of your respective league in the playoff system, you've had a good year. Even if the expectations or the hopes are that you're going to win the championship in that season, once you get to that point, all bets are off in terms of what can happen. And you can see with Louisville, I mean, they've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 9 straight years, but they haven't won a title in like 5 or 6 years. So it's not like they're consistently winning the title. But to make it this far, huge testament to just how good of a season this was for Rhode, particularly given that it was their inaugural season, and just how good Louisville's been over that stretch of time. And then one other quick point, JJ now has 5 goals in the playoffs. He's 1 off the all-time high for USL play. Like that, how crazy is that? 2 games in, he's 1 goal short of tying the record for most goals in the playoffs in the USL Championship.
Well, I very much hope he breaks it this next weekend here. So just looking at the RIFC in 3. So I think we only have it from the Defiance Discord here. We are going to get back to hopefully our regularly scheduled program of, social content and things out there. So our apologies there. But from Mike M in the Discord, RIFC in 3, am I dreaming? Don't wake me. So you got 2 in there, which is nicely done. Tara says, we are amazing. Andrew H, Jerome Williams Jr. So very similar to his last week where he had J Williams. But what more can you say there? We have Leo with RIFC in 3, Players Shield shutout. He also has a good, better, best in here for us. Good, JJ scoring as many goals as Lou City scored in us all season. Nicely done there. Better, best midfield trio in the league, helping dominate meaningful possession and force play out the back. Leo also recognizes the adult midfield. You love to see it. And the best here, calm, composed, and resourceful defensive performance all around the shutdown on Juggernaut. I couldn't agree with those more, especially that best there. I mean, I think it's been, again, going under the radar how resolute this team has been. And like you said earlier, Andrew, yes, we did give up 2 goals in Indy, but it wasn't from some kind of like defensive calamity or anything like that. It was just some, effective offense from Indy. But I think what we've seen from this team can give us a lot of confidence, hopefully, in these last 2 games. We actually have some breaking news for those watching live. The Colorado Switchbacks beat Orange County 2-1 in extra time. So thank you, William, for keeping an eye out there for us. Keeping going on the Discord, Tyler had RIFC in 3, 2 more wins. His good, what this team has done this season. His better, what this team is doing right now. And his best, what this team is going to do. Tyler, I have goosebumps, my friend. And as Timmy said, this man is a fucking poet. Natsuki,
Yes.
his in 3, atmosphere and win. His good, JJ, his better, beating Louisville. Best, made it to the Final Four. Patrick McKenna with his 3, best fucking night. Matthew Jean, unfortunately, had Let's Go Tampa, which, sorry, buddy, obviously didn't come to fruition. Andrew Gomes had RIFC in 3, keep making history. Sweater Girl had good, strong passes, good coordination and chemistry between the players, especially compared to where we started. Definitely agree. Better, strong defense. Best, scores by JJ and Dequa. RIFC in 3, keep it up. And then Chuck had one here. His good, amazing stadium and welcoming and respectful fans. His better, awesome support both at the game and at the bar. Best, Final Four, here we come. Chuck, awesome to see you in the chat. I love like we have like a travel correspondent out there for us. He had a lot more company this time, but Chuck's been great kind of going to all these games. I know he's traveling here, there, and everywhere.
He goes to every away match.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, definitely love it, Chuck. And thank you for always reporting back in here. So, Andrew, I know you had a couple for me.
Yeah, so good, better, best. So good, just amazing road support and a fantastic stadium. So seeing those pictures that were posted, and I had to send us some too. I've always seen inside the stadium just from the broadcast, but actually seeing the outside of the stadium, like that's a really cool spot and definitely one of the marquee places, stadiums in this league. So we'll add Tidewater to that list next year, and the news with Sacramento getting their own stadiums soon. That'll be another one to add in there. But the road support and all the people that really did everything that they can to make the trip out there. What was really cool to see. Better, just JJ on another level again. Like it just feels like every game he just elevates to a brand new level, and it's just so cool to see that. And then best was just this feeling, like that feeling last night, just buzzing the whole time, getting home, watching the game last night on the Western Conference side, and then what was it, the Tampa game? I can't remember now. And then all day today, like that was such a cool feeling. And just what this team has been able to give us all year long to take it up another level here. And, regardless of what happens next week, I think we can be really proud and excited for what this team has brought us. And then RC in 3 is, time to believe. And I think a lot of us did. Ooh. I think a lot of us did believe in this team, even going into the playoffs, but they showed us why that belief was warranted. And then for those of you who haven't been quite sure of what this team can do in terms of how deep of a run that they can make, it's time to believe they can do it. We knocked out the best team. We are now the best team. We're the team to knock out. So we'll see where it goes from here.
You mean I can't say it any better than that. I mean, so as most people know at this point, we are going to Charleston next Saturday. It's I think 7 or 7:30 kickoff. But yeah, Andrew, like you're saying, Rhode Island FC go into this one on an 8-game unbeaten streak. There's really no team hotter in the USL Championship than Rhode Island. Listen, Charleston is no slouch, but hey, we just went down there a couple weeks ago. We got a hard-fought draw. Really should have been probably 3 points there, but I think we can go into this match with confidence with a team who, again, just never say die. It's the perfect motto, perfect slogan for this team and their playoff run. And I just, number one, I'm so proud of what they've done so far, but, absolutely cannot wait to see them on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be great. And this team is going to be riding high with so much confidence. And Charleston's another team where we didn't beat them. Obviously, we tied them twice, but we played them in 2 really difficult matches. I mean, Charleston, defending Eastern Conference champion, they came into Tidewater early in the year, that nasty, probably the worst weather game that we had all season long. But that was a hard-fought game, and Rhode Island deserved to come out of that with the draw. And then at the end of the year, going into Charleston, they played their big boys. They weren't resting them. They were gearing up for the playoffs. We went toe-to-toe with them again and should have won, probably should have won. So I think this is another case of we'll see how Charleston treats this game, but they can't feel overly confident given the fact of how those first 2 games went. And I think that we will be having that confidence, not only because of the way that we played in those 2 matches, but obviously what we've done in the first 2 matches in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And we'll see if we can get the guys from the Holy City Sound Off show in here this week to try to preview this one. But yeah, thank you again, everybody, for joining tonight. This is always super fun, especially everyone coming in the chat. We can all celebrate together as a family. And a very, very special thank you to Andrew for jumping in as co-host tonight and at the brewery yesterday. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in this episode's description to follow all of our accounts. We have multiple blogs that are be coming out with Timmy's player ratings, Matt's blog, which I'm assuming he's typing up in the car as we speak. I believe there will be a Call Hug Corner tomorrow night, so definitely stay tuned on Twitter for that. We will announce if there's going to be any live shows, things like that. Some of us, I think, are talking about going down to Charleston, so we'll have to see what's going on there. But yeah, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you're not already there, join the RIFC Nation Facebook group. We're at almost 850 members, and it's an awesome place to see RIFC content and interact with fellow fans. It was popping, especially last night and this morning. People are celebrating. It was just a ton of fun in there. And if you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you click the link in this episode's description and type in the code Tide Talk, all one word, to get a free pack to add to your collection. That was from last week. Thanks again for tuning in for Tide Talk. I have been your host, Ryan, for Andrew and everyone at Tide Talk. Thank you. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.